Welcome to Imperial Interlude after a short break because Christmas, chaos, and general the world falling apart. With me, as always, is Ralph. Hello, Ralph.
Hi, Tim.
So, actually, we had planned to talk in this episode about Evox and all the other sideshows nobody seems to care about anymore. But this being the week before AMG announces what they have in plan for Legion IP that has been sitting with Fantasy Flight Games up until now, we thought we might do a little talking and predictions of what they might announce and in what direction they may push the games forward, focusing on Legion but also looking at X-Wing and Armada. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about this?
Well, for one thing, I'm glad in a way that Atomic Mass Games or AMGs will call it through this because I'm not keep going to say Atomic Mass Games, Atomic Mass Games, Atomic Mass Games. I'm glad they're the ones that have, because they are a subsidiary of FFG, that they've picked it up because of the success they've seemed to have with the Marvel game that they did, Crisis Protocol, but also they seem to have when we were struggling, especially in the UK, for Legion miniatures, the releases and getting a hold of stuff.
Yes.
It's been very sparse where Atomic Mass seem to have got their heads together. And I don't know whether it's just the way that FFG distribution worked with Atomic Mass over the Legion stuff, but there was more content, shall we say, arriving in the stores for people to at least get a hold of of stuff, whether it be new releases or restocks as well. Because that's been one of the biggest things within Legion's life cycle, I think, at the moment has been the issue over getting a hold of restocks. Getting a hold of the sets that you want to flesh out your units with.
So
Um.
that could also be have been a problem because
Oh yeah, COVID.
Crisis. No, that I was thinking about that. The distribution still goes for both Atomic Mass
Hmm.
Games and
Hmm.
Fantasy Flight Games over Asmodee as a global distributor.
Yeah.
Maybe it has simply been because the head in development at AMG has been not a new figure to miniatures gaming. It
Mm.
maybe had a bit more foresight in saying, okay, if this takes off, we need this and this in place to
Yeah.
react. With,
Hmm.
with Legion having been the second proper miniature games
Yeah.
Fantasy Flight had done, I think they were again totally caught by surprise by the success of it. The first game they had was what's it called again?
RuneScape, was it, or
RuneScape,
RuneScape?
which wasn't too bad, but also didn't take off very well. So I think they simply got thrown under the bus by supply and demand.
Yeah, they did seem to get shall we say, caught flat-footed a little bit with the whole
Yeah, they were always playing
demand for it.
catch up with
Hmm.
the things they already had released, and at the same time were releasing new stuff on a very regular basis, which does not help production if your production
No,
capabilities are limited.
yeah, and I'm wondering as well as whether they are looking at, and this is just speculation, of bringing some of their production back into, shall we say, the US. Because I know at the moment a lot of it is distributed and created within the Asian market, isn't it? It's created over in
It's
China
a
and stuff. I
China,
think. I think.
basically.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm wondering if they're looking at doing that maybe as well.
I don't think that
It's,
that's an investment that's of a higher degree. You need
yeah,
people that are able to make molds and
mhm,
work the machines properly, and then you have to
yeah,
invest in the machines themselves. So I'm not thinking they will be switching plants by any
hmm,
stretch of the imagination, but also Marvel Crisis Protocols has been a single miniature game, so
yeah.
you don't need 20 minutes if you want to get old stock back.
Hmm.
It's a bit unfair to compare those two.
It is. It's just it's more the fact that the distribution seemed to be a little bit more on point with Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I think that's a good thing because of them taking over Legion and taking over X-Wing and Armada. Basically FFG moving all of their miniatures under Atomic Mass. I think they saw the benefit of having some people in there that know the miniatures market and know the miniatures, how it's supposed to work. And I
Yeah,
think, it's looking promising. I think is the thing with AMG sort of taking the reins on it.
yeah.
It was a bit of a shock when we saw the announcements. I mean, we're not going to
It
lie. I think everybody was like, "What's going on
it
here?"
it was a bit sudden. Nobody
Mhm.
actually had heard any rumors, and all of a
No.
sudden, AMG put out a press statement together with FFG saying,
Hmm.
"Okay, all our minis are going over to AMG."
Yeah.
And a few hours later, we learned that also some staff was
Hmm.
going with them
Hmm.
because, correct me if I'm wrong, Fantasy Flight Games is in a completely different hemisphere of the US than AMG was. I think AMG is in Seattle.
I think so. I think they're based in different sort of states within the
So their
US.
staff needs to move physically,
Mhm.
and there were some concerns that designers from Legion would not follow, and that would be to the detriment of the game. But since then, some people still are with the game.
Mhm.
Let's just say, regardless of company, and I think we will see improvements of sorts.
I think we'll see improvements. I mean, we know what is due within the next release pattern, and we know that the next ones under the Fantasy Flight will be which are going to be, sorry, will not be, which are Lando Calrissian and Callus,
Yes,
Agent Callus. They're the next ones under the FFG sort of banner, and I think from after those two come out, I think everything else will fall under the Atomic Mass Games banner.
that's
and
very very possible,
that's
especially.
where we start looking at what is shall we say being leaked, or what has been announced in air quotes
Yeah,
sort of thing.
and just as a side note, we also
Hmm.
may keep in mind that as of today, it's the last day of the FFG forums. Also,
Yes.
so basically, the FFG forums had been a place where every leak had been
Hmm.
aggregated to a degree that it made ripples throughout the internet, and that's gone as of
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yes, it was a they were very active. I mean, I would go on for the role playing stuff for Empire's Edge and stuff. Even though I don't play Empire's Edge, it was just a nice resource to have a look for running Star Wars RPGs and stuff, which is one of the things I've done for the past year with my group. So it's I guess we'll see what happens, because the next one, I'm assuming, and this is also another side, is finding out what they're doing with the role playing arm of Fantasy Flight, because we know that's falling under another studio as well, which
Yeah,
is all under
because
the Asmodee thing.
yeah,
So
because
and
FFG is targeted to be a board game only company in coming
mhm,
future, and the
yeah,
role playing things have been phased out. I think in the last half of last year to another
it's
company.
been, yeah, it's been moved under the. I'm just googling it there. Let's have a look at what it's. Uh, it's moved under the specific sort of Fantasy Flight RPG arm, and that's where they're moving all of their sort of Genesis and L5R, Legends of the Five Rings, and Star Wars are falling under there. And I'm just trying to find the name of it, and I can't see it. So we've got. I'm assuming they may hold off announcing any. There was a bit of an announcement last year at Gen Con. There was some talk. I think they did a bit of talk around it. But I think that's maybe where we'll find out more about what's going on with. Actually, no, it wasn't Gen Con. It was just with Covenant. Is it Covenant Gaming?
Yeah,
The
I think
YouTube
so.
channel. They did an interview where they were talking about what's going on with, is Star Wars still going as a role playing concern, things like that. And then they said yes, and I've got a suspicion. Depending on what happens this year with conventions, we all know that some of the conventions have already been cancelled this year or been moved to later in the year. We may get some announcements again at a Fantasy Flight stroke, Atomic Mass Game stroke,
Yeah, I
whatever,
think we will
online
see
event.
things come up prop up
Yeah.
in the later half.
Yeah, definitely. So, but what do you think? Atomic Mass are going to announce then? Seems we've got this event on the 3rd, isn't it?
Yes, on
Wednesday?
no, the yes, it's Wednesday. It's where there has been a pseudo leak, a
Mm-hmm.
semi-acknowledged thing for once, the A5 speeder truck for
Mm-hmm.
rebel forces,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't think for the life of me for the Imperial one.
It's the LAATE 3 or something, isn't it? The lat or something. It's
I'm trying to find that bloody thing, but I
so
can't remember the name.
it's the it was in Rebels, and I
Yeah,
can see it in my mind's eye. It looks like a
I
bit.
can do too, but that doesn't
It
help
looks like it,
much.
it does it. It looks like a big square box with some wings on it.
Yeah, like somebody took a box and then added a few TIE fighter wings.
Yeah, Rebels. Let's see what
Bloody
it is.
how.
Internet. The internet.
This is
Dear.
how well we are prepared, people.
Yes, yeah, we're well prepared.
Oh,
It's 2020. It's 2021. As I said to my missus, right? We've done the beta test. Can we go? Can we
yeah,
just skip to
I,
2022?
I had my trial. This I don't like it. Please send me the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, was it really
I
Rebels?
It was in Rebels. They were used in Rebels. It's They were used in the sort of the last season, last part of the season when they attack them on Lothal. When the Empire turns up.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called now, but it was something like the LAAT, I thought. Similar to the LAAT, similar sort of naming convention. Got it here. I found it. It's
and
the LAAT slash. It's either IE or 1E patrol gunship. It's got like the front of a tie, and it's little bit of a square box.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
LAAT.
Yes.
Ludwig Anton Theodore. For everybody at home trying to Google
So
that shit.
it's the LAAT slash LE is what it is, because the LAAT as a acronym is the name of the clone. The gunships.
Yes. So this
But
is the Imperial version of that what we have seen in
yeah,
Clone Wars.
yeah, because
Though
the
it's a
LA
bit smaller.
Yeah, it is a bit smaller. The LAAT stands for Low Altitude Assault Transport. That's what the acronym at the beginning stands for. You see, I am sort of prepared. Of course, Wikipediaing really does help.
Yeah. Also, dear audience, please excuse the typing noise, but I'm just taking notes on what our predictions is so that we can laugh our asses off next Sunday.
when we get it all wrong.
So these two have basically been
Mhm.
confirmed more or less. I'm guessing they will be officially announced on Wednesday.
I
But
would assume so, but
but
assumptions.
I somehow have the feeling that this stream will be. They say it will be an hour long. I,
Mhm.
I my gut tells me it's not going to be a we have this new stuff planned kind of thing, but a more okay, we hear your concerns. This is how everything is going on forward, so that we get more an overview of how things will be handled in future regarding new releases, distributions, and most importantly, organized play.
Yeah, I think that's what they're aiming for with it. A lot of it's going to be, we've heard your concerns. It's been 6 months. It probably hasn't, but it just feels like it's been 6 months probably since the announcement, and it might
Ages.
back. It feels like ages. We know you're concerned about what's going on with the game. This is where the game's moving forward. This is what we're going to be doing for organized play in the future. They also talked about scenarios and things like that in their press release, and possibly narrative play. So maybe that might be covered. A little bit about this is what we're planning with narrative play.
So the
Uh,
press release was from the 16th of November. So
it just feels like 6 months.
it's yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it's going to be possibly answering a lot of the questions that popped up from fans. And I think those two vehicles will probably be shown near the end. I don't think they'll drop them at the beginning.
No, I
But
also think that this will be something like the first 3 quarters of the stream will be
yeah.
talking to the fans, taking
Hmm.
some weight off their shoulders, and the last thing maybe, okay, and these are the first additions to
Hmm.
games we will make under the new AMG brand, where
Yeah.
there will be no FFG logo on them.
Yeah. They're going to be looking at them, looking especially at the LAAT, the Imperial one. That's going to be a big, hefty piece of plastic. Looking at it, if it's to scale with the miniatures, which it will be.
I could
If you
be.
if you sort of look at the pictures of it, it's going to be quite a big piece of plastic.
Yeah, but then again, have you taken a look at the AA5 speeder truck? How big that thing is?
Oh yeah, that's going to be a meaty piece of thing as well. I mean, I've got a saber tank here. I've got the clone saber tank sitting
Yeah.
here, and that's chunky to say the least. So does this mean, and here's a bit of speculation for the future, does this mean then as if they're doing these vehicles, especially, they are transports, I would say that they're bringing transports in properly into the game, yeah?
Mhm.
Are we then looking at them possibly doing a clone version of the LAAT gunship?
I think that's very likely, simply because uh, until
There
this
is a
point, every unit had uh, a pendant to itself on every
Mhm.
other faction.
Yeah, which means all of those ones that all the ones that you can buy to 3D print off people will will be going.
Possibly. I've just looked. The LAAT is close to 12 meters in length. The AA5 is 21.
Christ, that's gonna be a
So if they stay in scale,
mm, yeah, that's a big piece of plastic.
if they even do a 1-to-1 scale and don't go the weird route they did for Imperial Assault and make large things much smaller.
I don't think we'll look at the
I don't think either that they will do that. The
no.
ATST in Imperial
I
Assault
was going to
was
say
laughable.
yeah, but look at the one in Legion. That's a big piece of
Yes, it's a
well sculpt. It's a
lovely piece
lovely
of tech.
sculpt. So does that mean then with them moving into larger and larger vehicles, and especially if they do like say the latitude assault for the clones, which is the gunship that you saw in the Attack of the Clones, which is a lovely, it's you look at the 3D prints that people can purchase and they're really well sculpted. They're really well done.
Yeah, or simply
Um,
the model kits you can get from
yeah,
various manufacturers.
lovely kit. Does this mean then with them doing that and the size of it, are we then looking at an AT-AT? Are we looking at a ATTE, the clone version of it? Are we looking at large vehicles? I mean, one of the things might be, and this, we're just speculating for speculating's sake here on my side, is when they did the downed ATST,
Yes,
imagine if they did a downed AT-AT as a terrain piece.
I could see a downed at as a terrain piece, maybe. I
Hmm.
don't think we would see an at as a unit. That would still be a bit too big, I think.
Hmm. Maybe. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. But with
Well,
at
I was just looking. The all-terrain tactical enforcer, the one from Clone
mhm,
Wars, actually is the same size as the AA5 speeder truck in length.
yeah,
So that's still in the realm of possibility.
and it's a little bit shorter than the ATST in height. It's just a little bit shorter.
So that
I've got a
could be a possibility.
hmm yeah. That would be a nice piece to put on. I mean, we've got big vehicles anyway because we've got the clone tank, we've got the droid tank. We've got the Imperial tank, the transport from Rogue One, haven't we? We've got an AT-ST. You know, we've got
Mm.
Staps and speeder bikes and the AT-RT walkers and stuff like that. So we do have large vehicles on the tabletop, and I think with them moving in and bringing this transport in, that's going to open up the rules for doing transport, I guess, troop deployment slightly differently.
But maybe we are not seeing here the woods with all the trees in
The
front
shi
of
the,
us.
sh- the shiny stuff, yes.
Maybe since you got to remember, Star Wars started as a, let's call it, small battle group
Hmm.
game
Yeah.
on a 6x3 table.
Hmm.
They added just recently a skirmish level on a 3x3 table.
Yeah.
What is it? What's keeping them to go on a 6x6 going epic scale?
Nothing. Now,
So that
epic
these
skip. Well, I
these
mean,
things wouldn't be a viable play piece for the normal game modes, but
mm,
if they go for something like, oh, we can now play an Armageddon sized, take
yeah.
two tables side by side, and then we have enough space to move these monsters.
True. I mean, Armageddon size, yes, and keep it. I mean, that's if they keep it at the same Legion size. But I think they've mentioned this in the press release, and I think we covered it when the press release dropped on your other, on your when I popped in on your Tuesday night streams, where we were discussing what they had announced, and they said other game types. I think they said, or
Yeah.
yeah, where we were speculating 20mm or 15mm. Anything like that, I think they would hold off until Gen Con. I
If
don't think
Gen Con ever
if
gets
yeah,
off.
if we ever see a Gen Con again, or even they would hold off until the big stream that they do, that the companies do that they did last year at Gen Con, But I could see them, doubling the point cost, so go from an 800 point game to a 1600 point game, yeah,
Yeah.
and bringing in say for example, works similar the way that sort of bolt action works. And the fact is, you have one large vehicle, say like an ATTE or an ATAT or whatever. So that would be your large centerpiece vehicle, like the tank, or you could have two, say, saber tanks or two of the droid tanks or whatever, and then transports and things like that, and you're just expanding out, making bringing the war into Star Wars, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But then you're looking at it and you're going, well, does that then mean, do they then need to come up with uh shall we say a framework for doing epic games, where if you're playing, especially in a narrative, say for example they had some narrative rules for doing that, yeah, then you would be either gaming inside of the Clone Wars or gaming inside of the Imperial, the Rebellion era, and neither the two shall meet, shall we say.
Could be. I just looked up the 8080 is given the one we all know from the origin
Hmm.
trilogy
Yeah.
at a length of 20 meters, so it's basically
Hmm.
the same length as the AA5.
Yeah.
Oh god, bloody hell, my wallet is going to kill me if they actually make that thing happen.
Well, you do know you can get a Revell 150th scale, which is
Which is
just
currently again sold out
yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. But it's a 150th scale AT-AT, and it is just a scale for Legion.
Yeah, I already have the what's it called, Namkai the Bandai ATST in
Hmm.
my closet, still waiting for assembly, so I could make two ATSTs,
Mm.
which would
It's
be an
terrible, isn't it?
awesome force. Two ATSTs, the tank, and a horde of stormtroopers.
Well, I saw what was some people, because it was the championship or something, wasn't it, at the back end of September, October time, yeah? The sort of the worlds or whatever, yeah. And one of the winning lists that got up into that was like a top 8 list, was a droid with the tank, or with two tanks. It was a droid list with the two tanks, I think it was. So half of your points are going to those two droid tanks, and the rest of it was just like droids and stuff like that. Or it was a droid list with one tank, but it was supposedly it was an absolute murder list.
Well, the trick on these lists is always keeping your point sync alive long enough so that it can annihilate enough other things to make
Yeah.
the cost
Mm,
work. And I
yeah.
never managed to do that.
No, I never managed to do that when I was playing Bolt Action and stuff. So, I play the game to have fun. I don't care if I come
Yeah.
last.
Bring the big guns in the front, wreak havoc. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah. Not that I would do that with the ARC troopers, though. Just give them jump packs and have them bouncing around the table.
And then running into some crossfire.
Yeah. But supposedly the ARCs are a devastating unit as well. So,
So possibly new vehicles that are being
Yep.
announced on Wednesday,
hmm
and a general, this is the way we are going to go. And I'm secretly hoping for something sneak peeky along the lines, as you just mentioned, new games in development.
Yeah. New games, and I think as well as we may get a sneak peek of up and coming miniatures as well, because they've done a land. There's normally, is it normally 4 within a sort of within a month's period, isn't it? So because we had Maul and Anakin come, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then the month later was the Separatist specialist and the clone specialists. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's always
within
4 units of something that's getting into one. What's it called?
release
Not
block, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sort of
release
quarter.
block
Yeah.
announcement. That's what the word I was looking for.
So this one was Agent Callis and Lando Calrissian, and then I'm guessing the 2 vehicles fall under that,
Yeah,
which we
possibly.
mentioned. So, do we think then they're going to announce maybe a sneak peek of what's coming after the 2 vehicles?
Either that or it will be a more generic thing. And I think they said it would be, since this stream will only be Star Wars related, we also could see some things along the lines for X-Wing or Armada. Though, to be honest, I have stopped following those, so I couldn't tell you what there could be some new exciting things because they basically suck most things.
True. I'm wondering with them if they do an X. Here's one for an X-wing one, and I know they did it. But what about because there's technically semi-relaunched Armada, didn't it, with the Clone Wars stuff? Because that's sort of a semi-relaunch, isn't it? It's like a soft
Yeah,
launch.
it's not a version 2 because the rules
No.
stay the same, but they've added new starter sets
Yeah.
with the word starter set being used very loosely simply because of pricing.
Yeah. So what about if they do a new air quotes again starter set for X-wing with the clone, the clone fighter? So a couple of vulture droids and uh the clone version of the X-wing, which I can't remember what it was called.
So you think more on the lines like they did in version 1 with the original set and then the one with the Force Awakens set?
Yeah, possibly, but could be completely and absolutely wrong with that. It's the ARC 170 for Starfighter, which I know they've done. But maybe they do announce that that we've got these loose starter sets for Clone Wars for Armada. He has a loose starter set for Clone Wars era ships using for the X-wing, and then they've sort of covered the Clone Wars within the 3 Star Wars games.
I'm just thinking maybe a way to get maybe people back into X-Wing wouldn't be a complete new starter set with the
No.
version 2 rules, but something like GW does for its armies with army forces.
Yeah.
So maybe a bigger box with, let's say, 5 to 8 ships in it, with all corresponding cards and tokens.
Yeah.
So at a relative discount compared to buying all those ships single.
Yeah, that would work for them, definitely. I mean, I'm guessing X-wing and Armada are. I wouldn't say they're difficult games, but I know there's a lot of. And I know they've tried to keep away this from Legion is possibly the word power creep was the fact is when new cards came out that became the new meta, didn't it? It reminded me a lot, especially X-wing reminded me a lot of a CCG. And the fact that, yeah, you had miniatures on the table that you were moving around, but when a card was proven to be very powerful across all different types of ship it could run in, everybody was clamoring to get that card because it was the best. It was almost like it is a bit of a power creep in some
Yeah,
respect.
it's that's a thing that really ruined X-Wing for many people. I don't know if you've seen that Weekender on OTT where Lloyd exactly told about that. That this had ruined for him the joy of a quick and fresh game of X-Wing when people started to do this metagaming.
Yeah.
And
I, that type of thing, the metagaming should really be left for tournament play, to be honest. If you're going to metagame,
yeah,
that's
but
what you metagame for. But even then, tournament play, it becomes very much a really, I'm playing against this,
yeah, and I
this
think
this again.
we are starting to see things like that on Legion. Uh, One prime example for me personally would be these new fold cards, or not
What
fold.
the new Force ones?
No. Oh, what they called again? When you
Which
have a disadvantage on your character.
the
Flaw,
disadvantage card
flaw
floor.
cards, which
There's
are introduced with colors and Lando, and I think one other unit had it before, which I wasn't aware of. I
Is it
think
Anakin?
Anakin did his.
I'm not sure.
I think so, and I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out why we should introduce such a complicated mechanic.
It's Anakin got the floor card.
Yeah, but why?
Where can be played by your opponent at the start of the command phase, and if Anakin has one or more suppression tokens, prevents you from giving Anakin an order that round. The floor card can only be used once per game. Right. I can understand the narrative behind it, for Anakin especially. I can
Yeah,
understand there's a narrative behind it, but I can't see why you would play the floor card. Yeah, it seems a strange one.
it's an additional mechanic that to a game that doesn't need any more mechanics.
True. And I mean, if you're not running Anakin as your commander anyway, then I don't think the floor card comes into effect, because I think they only affect the character that they're played with.
Yes,
So
as far as I can tell.
so if you're running, say, Vader, or you're in an Imperial list, or you're running Kenobi in a clone list, or you're not even running a Jedi, because that's what I thought about doing when I was playing Legion, when I can get around to playing my first games of Legion, would be running Rex, I just want to run a clone force myself, just
Yeah,
because it's fun. I want to play something that's going to be fun, not.
or one thing that I did is I didn't play any Grand Commander at all. I used the cheapest
Yeah.
generic
Hmm.
commander you could get.
Yeah.
Hide her behind something in the back end, and then use those points at different units.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean the new clone commander's half the cost of Rex. Again, that's in the that you can run him either as a commander for your force,
Yeah,
or you can run him as an officer for a unit of of the
it's
clones.
basically the same like the Imperial expansion and
Yeah,
the Rebel expansion.
yeah. So you can do that and not have to have that point cost,
You
or
could
that point sink.
you could basically run a non-descriptive generic clone army and
Mhm.
run around the table without having sorry any problems with people telling you, but that's not canon, that he never did that. Well, fuck you, that's an unnamed trooper. What, how do you know what he ever did?
Yeah. Or you're doing the way I'm doing mine when the weather thing is up, so I can actually prime them. Is I'm going to prime them up, paint the clones up, but I'm picking the 104th. I'm going to paint mine up as the Wolf Pack. So that's going to be Commander Wolf. My commander's not going to be Rex. It's not going to be one of the name ones. It's going to be Commander Wolf standing there. So I've picked something I want to play with, paint them up accordingly, and have some fun with it. And that's
Basically those are our toys and we do
yeah.
as we please.
Pretty
And
much, yeah.
as long as you're not on a tournament, usually that's, I
Hmm.
think, no brainer for the most gamers
Yeah,
out there.
yeah. I mean, if you're wanting to delve into tournament play, especially with Legion, that's when I think you have to roll and have a look at what the meta is at the moment.
Yeah, and especially you need to look in the future because,
Hmm.
uh, as far as I have been looking at the tournament scene in Germany, if as soon as a new unit is announced, the first thing people are worried, will this be tournament legal for the
Mm,
time in X,
yeah.
which I always find very distracting.
It is, but I mean, it's sort of getting back to what we think, what atomic mass, pulling it back to atomic mass, because I think I drove off on a tangent there, but um, you know, I think a vast majority of the stream, as we said, is going to be them just calming the fan base a bit and possibly laying some signposts to saying this is where we're going to be going within the next, say, 2 years.
Yeah,
You know,
possibly.
you know, I can't. The only thing I think I could see them having an announcement for that does not mean mentioned anywhere else would be having a Dinjar and Guroku mini turn up. Then the internet would lose its fucking mind.
Yes, then they would be going completely apeshit.
Yeah, that's
Of
the only thing I could see them, dropping a big surprise on would
and
be,
and to add insult to injury, it would be a convention exclusive at some point in the future.
well, you might get a different sculpt, But yeah, that would be the only thing I can think of them doing. But even then, they could hold off on doing that. When we're talking about different game types, where we've got this 500-point skirmish game, haven't we?
Yes.
What if they did a 500-point skirmish game starter box, and that's one of your starter box minis?
Well, to be fair, the current starter boxes are already at 500 points,
Yeah,
depending on which
true.
faction you need.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's anything they will touch on
Mm.
a remake. Perhaps we are at the point where they could also start selling army forces,
Yeah, that's
bundling bundling some like two core troops and a heavy and something else in a more easily available block.
yeah, that would be something I would have, because I was lucky enough to get the Clone Wars starter box, but I didn't pay the huge amount of money that was being asked for it. I think I was able to get at least, I think I got £10 off mine. I was so I didn't pay the 79.99. I think I paid 69.99, which was is a godsend, when you're gaming sort of on a very limited budget. Um,
Yes.
but I've got a suspicion they would do better if, for example, there had been just a clone starter set, a bit like the way Games Works, going back to Games Works, the way they do it, with their Space Marines and stuff, where I could have just got a generic clone commander, two 7.2, two of the phase one clone starter boxes, maybe the speed, just the speeder bike. So the
The
half of the
box.
basically, yeah, the box, the half of the box that you get in the Clone Wars starter that isn't the droids. So the clone side of that
Yeah,
would have
and
been a perfectly good starter force with all the cards and everything, and maybe a link to download the living PDF for the rulebook.
yeah, and excluding the Kenobi miniature, just to
Hmm.
have something to differentiate these things.
Yeah. You could have a generic clone as your commander, a generic, two sets of phase one clones, and either a single bark or a double bark. It's really, because you only get one bark in the starter set.
Yeah,
Um,
but
you
let's
know,
face it, those are pipe dreams.
yeah, yeah, there were, they probably are, but if they're thinking about ways of having that, shall we say, that gateway drug, not that Star Wars splattered on the side of everything isn't a gateway drug in some respects.
No, not at all.
Um, you know, that would be one way of doing it. You have these starter forces, so you could have one for the rebels, one for the clones, one for the Imperials, and one for the separatists. There's four
Yeah,
starter sets.
That,
of sorts.
that would be something which would make sense in a world where Legion has itself firmly established as a
Yeah.
miniatures game, and I think we are close to the point where this is actually happening.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Games Workshop is the big bully on the playground, with what they're doing with
You mean the great Kulu?
well, the way that they promote and push their gateway drug, shall we say, of 40k. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah, kid. Do you want some more Space Marines? Yeah, look, yeah, the Dark Angels. Come and get them. Come and get them.
Look here, a single miniature specially made for this one game, and the game isn't that expensive. It's only £50. Go get it. Get your next fix here.
Exactly. Um,
You want
but
some free candy, kid? Come to the back of the van.
I was thinking technically you could do that with Legion. Go, do you want your Grogu? Do you want your Grogu?
Oh
Come
god.
on, come on, come and get your Grogu. Come on.
Do
It's
you
only
want
30.
to play with Baby Yoda? Come along. We have plenty Baby Yodas to go around for everyone.
I must admit the single sort of specialist box of like Anakin and Rex and all of them, all of the named characters, are
Yeah.
quite reasonably priced compared to GW.
Yeah, but let's face it, that's because they can't charge more because people wouldn't buy them. Then there would be a great uproar and everybody would be shouting, "You're the same as GW. I'm
Yeah.
staying with them."
I was going to say, does this not include their convention specials?
Oh god, don't make me think about them again.
Yes, their convention specials are, shall we say, special.
Though to be fair, they aren't expensive at the conventions, but what scalpers and morons are willing to pay for these things after the fact is insane.
Yeah. I know there was a shop in the UK, and I think it was one of the online stores were selling their last couple of Lukes for 50 quid. And it was like,
which is still a lot less than you would have to pay for the Spiel version of Obi-Wan or the Vader from what was it? JediCon? No.
No, it's the Star Wars convention. What's it called?
Yeah.
Celebrations.
Celebrations, yes. So these
sorry.
two go for each about 200 and up.
Oh, silly, very silly money for all intents and purposes.
For a miniature in plastic,
I was
the
going to say
size of my thumb.
Yeah, a piece of plastic, basically.
Which is a material's worth of about 10 cents, maybe.
Indeed.
If at all.
Speaks the men with plastic in shelves and boxes,
yes.
And along with little bits of metal.
But what makes it even worse is these things don't even play differently. It's literally the same units.
It's this, it's exactly the same unit, just a different
collector's item, nothing more.
I must admit, the Kenobi is nice.
Oh yeah, the posing is great, and I'm very happy that the oncoming character sculpts like Anakin and Darth Maul are so dynamically posable, and I actually bailed and pre-ordered my Darth Maul and got myself a Obi-Wan from the core set via eBay because I think that would make a great diorama.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Without a doubt. The Anakin's is a really nice. I mean, you get the two poses with an Anakin. So he's got the two poses that you can sort of build. If you were lucky enough to get additional bits, you could actually build them both. I've seen somewhere as well, or I've read somewhere that somebody magnetized it.
Yeah.
So they could interchange if depending on what pose they wanted to do. The Maul one is really nice. The posing and just the sculpt on the face and stuff is just incredible.
Have you seen what somebody did on Facebook with the leftover bits for the Anakin?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm just going to burn him here and burn him here a bit.
I think that was a stroke of genius.
You could
using leftover head and shoulders to make a chopped off version of Anakin crawling.
You could do that with Maul, just have the bottom piece and get some spider butt legs.
I was actually thinking which miniature manufacturer would make most similar leg
Mechanical
work.
spider legs. You could try puppet war
Yeah, but I think to have a more,
or
I,
anvil.
I think actually something from what's that called again?
Which one?
The Mars Tech Priest from for 40k, Adaptus
Yes, yeah, the
Mechanicus.
Adeptus Mechanicus.
They are pretty primed for legs like that. If I can get some from the local store or something, or from
I'm
the local club.
I am surprised when they announced Maul that they didn't do a later version of Maul.
Well, they need
You
to
know,
keep something for future projects, don't they?
I suppose you could do it as a convention specialist. That's special, I suppose.
Either that or going totally off rails here. If they start doing something like a Star Wars Rebels starter set,
Mm,
or army packs or anything, because currently Legion is more or less restricted to the realms of the original trilogy
yeah.
and Rogue One and the Clone Wars, so
Mm,
the prequels, and
yeah.
nothing
I,
else.
I suppose as well. He has another speculation. What with the Bad Batch coming this year?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, clone specialist set. The Bad Batch. All 5 figures in a box.
Very
Like
much possible.
what they did with Inferno Squad and things like that. But where Inferno Squad and stuff is, they have 2 named characters in there, and the rest are, rest are generic. They can't be, yeah. That they just go, here's your 5, because there's 5 members of the Bad Batch now, with 5s joining them. So here's your Bad Batch set. They're all named characters. They all can be used within the Clone Force. They can be they are either special forces, so you could field them as a unit. It'd be a very expensive unit, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Um,
it would be around something like the red guards for the Imperium.
a bit like the Arc Troopers as well, because the Arcs are quite inexpensive. If you field all, actually, if you're fielding all, if you're fielding for the Arc Troopers, that's £72.
And also
Plus then,
the Bad Batch would be a prime example for a unit that could use floor cards.
oh yeah, but where you've got floor cards, you might have an offset of that, because remember, with them being genetically modified.
Yeah.
So Wrecker maybe Wrecker, yeah, he uses a pistol because he's using that, but if he's in melee combat, he has larger dice pool and things like that. So I'm just spitballing, pulling things out of the sky almost, because there's a breadth of different units that I haven't even touched on in both classic and in the Clone Wars era. What we've got to remember as well is Rebels is 10 years before Star Wars, so it's sitting in that weird space between episode 3 and episode 4. It's got that it's in that sort of empty void of Rogue One space and things like that,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I mean, they've already touched on that, where we've got Sabine Wren, we got Clan Wren.
Yeah,
Are
and
we are, we- are we going to get a Bo-Katan? That would be an interesting
possible.
mini, you
I'm
know.
I'm actually uh, totally going a different direction now, because
Mhm.
this is a thing I would really, really love to have, and that is very, very possible not happening. Star Wars Epic.
Yeah,
Playing in the Star Wars universe at a 6 or 10 millimeter scale.
I
Making epic battles with lots of heavy vehicles and giving a shit about named characters, but just throwing tons of stuff at each other.
well, you could still have a unit of clones with a general, and that general be Anakin or Mace Windu and stuff, and just in the rule save, and as an example, they have slightly more buff. That
Yeah,
if you're fielding a unit with a general, you get a list of generals you can pick. So say, for example, you pick Mace Windu as the general, yeah. So his clones, this unit, gets these, gets a buff, gets an increase in damage, and has this force card. something very something very similar, or or a very simple in the way to do it.
You just triggered another idea for upcoming Legion releases.
Mhm.
Mace Windu.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest, we haven't had Yoda yet. Imagine Jedi General Yoda. He was there. He was on Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
We haven't had Mace Windu. We haven't had Fisto. We haven't had what's his face? Plo Koon. We haven't had an Ahsoka Tano. Whichever version they want to create, I'd be happy with whichever version they want to create. So there's 5 Jedi we haven't even touched.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about him, for some weird reason, being the perfect opposite of this weird female character that is helping Count Dooku. I can't remember her name.
Asajj Ventress.
Could
is her
very well
name.
be with this very.
Ventress would be a lovely miniature to sculpt. She's a twin lightsaber wielding
It would
Dathomir.
be something with her force powers being very much aggressive, if I remember correctly.
She is very aggressive.
She would basically be a miniature Darth Vader, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, well, isn't Maul quite aggressive on the tabletop as well?
I haven't gotten him yet, so I can't tell.
Maybe that's what we'll do as a discussion point. Have a look at how aggressive Maul can be. But yeah, Asajj Ventress would be a lovely sculpt. I know for a fact, because I collect the Black Series stuff. The Black Series, but I get the 6-inch, not the 3/4 inch. So I've got 2 versions of the Mandalorian, because I've got one normal, one in Beskar. I've got a child. I've got a Commander Wolf, and I've got an Ahsoka Tano in Black Series. I've got a Bo-Katan coming, because that went up for pre-order, and they just announced a pre-order for Asajj Ventress as well. But
weren't you the one just saying about a minute ago limited hobby budget? just asking.
That's. Are you just asking for a friend? Are you, Tim?
I'm just wondering if your limit on the budget is the same. Let's say flexible limit like mine is at times.
Well, pre-orders, it's a bit like backing a Kickstarter. It'll turn up eventually.
It's gifting your future you.
Yes, I am gifting my future me with a Bo-Katan when it turns up.
Yes. And at that point, you still have enough time to be angry about spending too much money.
Well, there is that. But so yes, I'd love to see an Asajj Ventress, but then if we're moving into that realm for the dark side Force users, because really at the moment all you've got is Palpatine and the Emperor for that sort of classic Star Wars space, yeah. And in the Clone Wars space, we've got Dooku and Maul. Really, I'm surprised they haven't done a set of cards where you could bring Palpatine as Darth Sidious into the Clone Wars.
I think that would be bad, personally, because he is always working from the shadows. He's never appearing in front of his enemies. I think having him as a unit in Legion on the side of clone troopers or the somehow where in this battle would be bad.
Yeah, I suppose I'm just thinking from the point of view of what happened in Episode 3 with them actually fighting Yoda.
Yeah, but that's the pinnacle of the movie. This is the high point where everything collapses. I don't think you need that point in a game.
Actually, Clone Wars wise, because if they did Asajj Ventress, they could then bring in the Dathomiri witches.
The weird sisters.
So you've got Mother Tanzend, who's a powerful Force user. So you've got the Dathomir. But then, are we then looking? And here's a future thing for them to maybe think about. Are we looking at a third faction?
I still think if they would introduce a new faction, it would be best to make bounty hunters or scum and villainy as a faction. Simply because that thing has been established in X-Wing and in Armada, and I think it would be wasted potential not to go I'm playing a headhunter force, and
Mhm.
I can use everybody who has the keyword headhunter in his cards, even if it's not my affiliation. So
Mm.
you can use Bosk and Boba Fett, and you don't need to re-release them in a different way.
True. Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is definitely potential. I think there to do the scum and villainy, you know, as a faction. But then if we're moving at the scum and villainy, you're looking at as forces to create. You know, you've got the criminal organization that Maul ran.
Yeah, you could go the complete nutty way and even go and add Prince Shizo or whatever he's called.
Shizo.
Shizo from Black Suns
Yeah.
and or even the Hut Cartel.
Hmm. He has one for either, and it would no, it wouldn't be clones. It would be sort of classic Star Wars era, an Imperial officer, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Is that Tim falling off his chair there going, oh God, no.
No, I'm actually thinking Thrawn as a personality would make a nice addition, but he's let's put it bluntly, a space battle figure. I'm having a hard time imagining him on the battlefield with anything else than the command option nuke them from the sky.
Actually, he did command the troops on the siege of Lothal at the end of Rebels. He was actually on the ground. He actually left the ship and went on the ground.
Yeah, but
But
that's
but
one fight.
true, I suppose. But the thing is, anyway, you know, he is a Grand Admiral. But I'm thinking more the point of view of the gameplay mechanics of the tactical, you know, having that tactical genius. You know, it may give the player, if it depends how they write it, different tactical options.
Yeah, maybe
You know,
you can make your choices, then let your
mm,
opponent make the choices, and because you're a tactical genius, you can redo all your tactical choices at the spot
yeah,
at one time anywhere in the game.
yeah, something like that. You know, where because we know the character being what the character is, you know, his knowledge and things of that may be something. It's they can pick. And I think that's one of the joys I think Atomic Mass are going to have now that they've got a hold of it is they can go, well, where do we want what miniatures do we want to bring into the fold? Yeah, what can we choose from? You know, what can we pick? Oh well, we're going to do a set of 4 that are based in from the Clone Wars. So what do we need? Well, we haven't done Yoda, we haven't done Ventress, so there's 2 because the very first episode of Clone Wars, that's who was facing off against each other, was Yoda and Ventress.
Yeah,
Yoda had some clones with him. Ventress had the whole droid army armada that she had with him, with herself. So there's 2. What else do we need? Well, maybe we need some clone commandos, not ARC troopers, but actually clone commandos. Gregor and characters like that from the video game, but also appeared in Clone Wars. And what do we need for the actual droids? Maybe spider droids. We
yeah.
haven't had that. We haven't had spider droid yet. They
And
could fall into the same thing as the droid dicker.
I'm just taking a look at my shelf that's above my monitor where all my video games Glorious Past is stored.
Hmm. Yeah,
And there are 2 boxes screaming at me, we need to be in Legion 2. One of
that be
them,
Dark Forces by any chance?
Dark Forces and Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
There are 2 games with so much characters in them
Hmm.
that would fit right into the current timeline, which is in Legion,
Hmm.
would be awesome.
Yeah, I think they could definitely do stuff from Dark Forces because we've had the Dark Troopers.
Yes.
I'm not sure how they would justify bringing in and this because I'm thinking from a point of view of uh I'm assuming both FFG and AMG have to abide by what Star Wars has brought in as canon.
Yes, that's very much highly. But come, please keep in mind, FFG managed to create a new asset from scratch.
Mm. Was that Imperial Assault, was it?
No, the
Oh, the
capital ship from X-Wing, which then went on to be part of Star Wars
oh
Battlefront
the
2.
uh,
The Imperial Cruiser. The name just simply slips me, but
is
you
that
know.
the Interdictor cruiser thing, the thing that Iden Versio drives.
Yes. That thing is a imagination from Fantasy Flight Games, which then later got implemented into Battlefront 2.
That's true, yeah. And also the other one, he has a one, the Saber tank
Mm-hmm.
is never seen anywhere else but in one of the video games. It's the Saber tanks never appear in any of the animated series or anything.
Yeah, but that's okay. So that's not nothing FFG have created, but it's a new IP related thing that has
Yeah.
been generated and made canon.
hmm hmm
So
So it's
that
working. So it's
we
but
just
that
need to
that's a,
ask if LucasArts titles from the past are still canon.
well, there is that, and well, the class is legend and so on. I think a lot of them, apart from the things that they've cherry picked out of them,
Well, Dark Forces, the Dark
Dark
Troopers
Troopers. Yeah,
are canon.
yeah,
They
that's what I'm
are.
saying. Is they've stepped into that when it was Legends and went, oh, we'll take the Dark Troopers out. John Favreau wrote about them in, season 2 of the Mando, and now they're canon. Yeah, so I think it's what the creators are wanting, because there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of talk and speculation now going around on some of the Star Wars stuff. So they've done the Dark Forces and they've done Dark Troopers. Does that mean we may see Mara Jade turn up?
Oh, I think Mara Jade is a character they will stay away from.
They probably will, but you never know. It depends
Yeah.
if it's written right. If it's written correctly, and it's an intelligent way of doing it, I could see John Favreau or Dave Filoni going, bring her in,
Yeah,
because we know. Did this ever air?
I think we are going off
We
of
are going
rails
up a
here
little bit, yeah, a
completely
little
now.
bit, yeah. Star Wars speculation 101. There we go.
Yeah. So let me recap what I have written down. So we have a very likely announcement of two vehicles for Legion, being the
Yeah.
AA5 and the LAAT.
Mhm.
A possible new game announcement, which I would like to be an epic scale
Yeah.
game, which is again highly unlikely. Maybe new X-Wing starter sets / army boxes, and possibly something like a Bad Batch box for Star Wars
Maybe.
Legion.
Maybe. I mean, that's a speculation.
But
I think
the Bad
we
Batch
may.
and the epic scale game are the most unlikely to
Yeah.
happen. If they are going to happen, I'm going to lose my shit on Wednesday.
The one that I think we might see an announcement of, linked in with the L-18, the vehicle, this will be the last one, might be some terrain pieces, because we know Atomic Mass games, especially, pardon me, I apologize, for Marvel Crisis Protocol, do a lot of terrain, don't they? There's a lot of terrain pieces that they've produced, like vehicles and bits like
Yeah,
that. So we might see some new terrain pieces.
I would have to go out on limb here, but I think those are much cheaper than the terrain FFG had created until now.
Yeah,
And even though they have switched studios, I don't think they will go down in price.
maybe not, but we might see more. So, say for example, is it like 2 moisture evaporators and a bunch of other little bits, wasn't it? Sort of
Well,
the essentials or whatever it was called.
yeah, five moisture evaporators, some terminals, and some
Mhm.
boxes.
Yeah. I thought there was only 2 of the evaporators. So you never know. It might be something that they pick
I
up.
could be wrong. I was just looking about what's
hmm
standing under. Were there moisture evaporators in the core set?
No. God. Trying to remember. There's
I'm
some,
going to say no, and uh,
maybe not. I can't remember.
possibly not now. I've got the where is it? Accessories? No, not accessories.
So that's going to
Neutral
be,
expansions. Where
yeah.
are those? Priority supply. Oh, if
So
I only. Oh, as I said, four um four
for
moisture
but
evaporators, 3
mm,
terminals, and 5 boxes.
mm.
That's the priority supplies.
So I'm guessing on Wednesday you're going to have a late night. Looking at the start time here for
Uh,
it,
it's not that late.
1 p.m. Pacific. So that's 9 p.m. UK time. So that's 10 o'clock your time.
Yeah, but it's only an hour, so
Oh well. Yeah,
I'll
you'll be fine.
manage.
You'll manage.
Given the fact that on Mondays we usually start role playing at 20:30 UK time, so it's not that late.
20, 8:30. So I suppose, yeah.
No, UK time 20:30.
Oh, so it's 9:30 your time.
Yes. So those additional 30 minutes don't really
No, they
add
won't make
much
much
to
of
the
a
pie.
difference, will they?
Yeah, I think that's all we have on a more or less stable
Yeah.
basing. Everything else would be so badly speculative.
Yeah, there's, we're not going to see. I think, to be honest, like we said at the beginning, it's predominantly going to be probably a bit of putting their cards on the table, saying,
We are not going to break your game you love.
yeah,
We are not going to
yeah,
change too much, and we are. I think the biggest surprise they could come around with would be that some of the people who had been working on Legion and since the move haven't left the company would be coming back.
yeah.
That would be the biggest surprise to everyone, I think.
hmm Yeah, I think so. I think the main thing as well is if they've kept their sculptors as well. I think, I don't think the sculptors left it. I think the main sculptors stayed. But
I couldn't tell.
I'm not sure. It's
Sadly, they don't credit the sculptors as
no.
much as I would like to.
hmm
Maybe because simply these sculpts need to be approved by the big mouse and are not something like goblins or orcs
Yeah,
done by Sculptor X that are recognizable throughout other games.
yeah. The big mouse has to approve everything. That's what we've heard. A lot of the different games that have got that are IP driven.
Yeah, but
the
to be
Gale.
to be fair, Lucas did that before he sold to the mouse, so there
Yeah,
was nothing getting out that had not had his stamp of approval.
very true, very true. But yeah, I think like we've said, I think a vast majority of the announcement's going to be, we're Atomic Mass Games. We're not going to break a game. Here's what we're planning on doing. He has a couple of future things that we know are out there, possibly, maybe show off a Callus and a Lando, actual live, with
Yeah.
the two new vehicles, and maybe an announcement of what's coming after that.
You know what would be a very cool thing, just thinking of it?
What?
Releasing official license files for Tabletop Simulator or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yes. So you can play virtually during this thing.
This event, remain
Yeah.
indoors.
Yes. This remain indoors. Wear a mask. Get your vaccine.
Don't touch anything. Not even yourself. Wash your hands, dirty.
We're going down the route of you and Jerry there, so stop it.
Yes. I'm going to need some coffee after this. But I think then we call it a day.
I think so, yes. But we'll be
So
back next Sunday to talk about what we got totally wrong.
yes, and I'm going to probably perhaps live stream my reactions on Wednesday if I'm not fallen asleep halfway through, or something else intervenes with my plans.
Like
Until
life.
then, I thank you, Ralph. I thank everybody
No worries.
for listening, and until then, please stay safe. Bye.